Hello everyone, 2022 is almost upon us, so I figured I'd make a video today going over 10 of my most anticipated games for 2022. 2022 so far seems like a bit of a slower year for JRPGs than we've seen in the past, with not that many huge titles being announced, but we do have a lot of titles without release dates, a lot of titles that are rumored to be in the works, and I'm sure we'll see a lot more get announced during 2022 that will release in the same year. But for now, I have 10 titles that are confirmed to be releasing in 2022. So, no titles like Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 or Xenoblade 3 or any other titles that we expect to happen but aren't confirmed yet. Uh, so yeah, without any further ado, let's get right into it. After the fifth game in the series flopped, many people were surprised to see a sixth entry get announced. But that's exactly what we're getting with Star Ocean 6 The Divine Force. The gameplay and world and exploration of this game simply look fantastic. It really gives me Xenoblade X vibes, and I'm very excited to try this one out. I haven't played any of the Star Ocean games yet, but it is a series that people have told me time and time again that I would really enjoy, so I'm definitely looking forward to giving the series a go at some point. It's pretty high up there on my priority list, so who knows, maybe this will be my first entry in the series that I play. What do you get when you combine the amazing aesthetics and visuals of Octopath Traveler with the gameplay of Fire Emblem, and then add in some more consequences to the choices you make throughout the game? Triangle strategy, that's what. Square Enix's latest game from the development studio that made Octopath Traveler looks simply amazing, and that's why it ranks number 2 on my list. I'm a huge Fire Emblem fan, and this game reminds me a lot of it. It's not exactly the same. It also kind of reminds me of the Final Fantasy Tactics series. There's a bit of resemblance to both, but regardless, I think this is going to be a game that I'm going to enjoy a lot, and it's definitely high up there on the list of games I want to get in 2022. Revealed at Xbox's E3 conference in 2021, Eiyuden Chronicle Rising is one of my most anticipated games that I saw from the entire conference. The game just simply looks fantastic, with a really cool looking cast of characters. It was also announced alongside another game, Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes, which is coming out in 2023, I believe, but Eiyuden Chronicle Rising is coming out next year in 2022. Based on my knowledge of the game, it appears that this is a spiritual successor, or maybe an indirect sequel to the Suikoden series, which is a series that I have not played, but have heard nothing but good things about, so I'm very interested to see how this will hold up compared to the older titles, and whether people who liked the older titles in the Suikoden series will also enjoy this series. Digimon Survive is a game that we've known about for a long time. After going through a number of delays, a lot of people were afraid that it would end up in development hell and eventually end up getting cancelled. However, it is officially confirmed to be coming out in summer of 2022. From what I hear, this is a strategy-based game based on the Digimon series, which is really interesting as the Digimon series is a monster collecting series. I've never really seen a strategy-based monster collecting game, at least none that I can think of. So it'll be very interesting to see how this turns out. As a fan of both strategy RPGs and the Pokemon series, it sounds like something I would really enjoy, so I can't wait to get my hands on this one and give it a try. I'm not super deep into the Digimon series. I own Cyber Sleuth, the complete edition, with Hacker's Memory, But besides that, I haven't really touched any of the games, so going into this is going to be a relatively fresh experience for me compared to if this was a Pokemon game, for instance. Overall, I'm just very excited to try this one. As someone who's more of a fan of modern RPG experiences compared to the classics, Sea of Stars is one retro-looking RPG that actually catches my interest quite a bit. The art style is fantastic. It's not quite as good as like Octopath, for instance, but is very similar in art style. And the gameplay also looks really interesting, having an interactive turn-based combat system similar to the Mario and Luigi games. Overall, this is something that's caught my attention quite a bit compared to other retro-looking RPGs that have come out. So, this is one that I'm very excited to try. I can't wait to see how it turns out, and I hope that people will enjoy it. While looking through games to get from my 3DS, the Rune Factory series is something that's always caught my attention, being a mix of traditional RPG style gameplay, as well as slice of life farming and romance. Overall, it seems like the series has a pretty passionate fan base, but a lot of people were surprised when Rune Factory got announced. I don't exactly know what the deal with the series is, as I haven't kept up with it, but it sounds like the publisher wasn't doing too great financially, so a lot of people weren't expecting another one. Regardless, we got it alongside with Rune Factory 4 Special for the Switch, which I actually own. So it's definitely a game that's been on my radar, and it's something I might pick up in 2022. Anyone who knows me knows I'm a huge fan of the Pokemon series, starting over a decade ago. But Pokemon Legends Arceus is the game that people have dreamed of for years. We're finally getting what looks to be an open world Pokemon game with Monster Hunter-like gameplay, and it looks amazing. I really hope that Game Freak takes the time they need with this one and doesn't rush it out like they seem to with all the other Pokemon games, which makes a little bit of sense if you know how they operate. But regardless, it definitely hurts the quality of the games, and I really hope that they don't mess this one up. Regardless, I think this game will be amazing, and I can't wait to play it in 2022. I also love the fact that they're actually adding Pokemon from later generations in. One of my biggest pet peeves with the Diamond and Pearl remakes is that it only has up to Gen 4 Pokemon. One of my favorite things to do in the remakes is to play through the game again with Pokemon I couldn't use the first time, and I can't really do that if those Pokemon aren't in the game. But whatever. Pokemon Legends Arceus looks amazing, and is one of my most anticipated games for sure. It's a good time to be a Kazeki fan in the West right now, as we've just gotten, just recently, 4 game announcements that will be translated and brought to North America. Trails from Zero will be releasing in 2022, and then the other 3 will be releasing in 2023. Trails from Zero and Trails to Azure are part of the Crossbelt arc, which sit between Trails in the Sky and Trails of Cold Steel. So obviously a lot of people have been waiting for these 2 to get translated so they can know the full story of the series, as they're pretty integral. I don't think they matter too much in Trails of Cold Steel 1 and 2, but for Trails of Cold Steel 3 and 4, they have quite a bit more story importance, and for Trails into Reverie, which is the epilogue of Trails of Cold Steel and the Crossbelt arc, it obviously has a bit of importance there too. So we're finally getting these games translated. It's kind of cool actually. The group that did the fan translation for the games is actually working on the official translation that we'll be getting, which is a super cool opportunity, and I hope that they're able to do more stuff like that in the future. And then Nayuta Boundless Trails is a spin-off game that still looks pretty cool. It's an action RPG that released a while ago, but it's still pretty recent relatively. And yeah, there's just a ton of stuff coming out for this series, and overall, it's all very exciting. I've been recently getting into the Atelier series. I'm still pretty new to it, but I own both Atelier Ryza games for the Switch, as well as Nelke and the Legendary Alchemists, the spin-off game. To my knowledge, the Atelier games usually come in sets of 3. So Atelier Sophie 2 is pretty unusual, as not only will it be the 4th game in the Mysterious trilogy, which is no longer a trilogy, I guess, but it's also the first retroactive sequel to my knowledge. Sequels aren't exactly new to the series, as I just mentioned, Atelier Ryza has gotten a sequel, and a few of the older games have sequels as well, such as the spin-offs or Atelier Iris. However, it's very unusual for a game in the series to get a sequel after it has come out many years later. Overall, it seems like this game will be more of the typical Atelier combat, so if you like the series, it'll be worth checking out, and if the series isn't your thing, I doubt it'll be anything different. However, I'm sure, will have a lot of modern features that Atelier Ryza has added, contributing to the series' recent success. Regardless, I look forward to playing it eventually, whenever I get to it in my backlog. Last but certainly not least, we have Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin. This is a strange game, as it's a action RPG remake, or reimagining more accurately, of Final Fantasy 1. It's a strange decision by Square Enix to make this game in the first place, but regardless, it's something that has me pretty excited. As a fan, I guess you could say, of Final Fantasy 1, didn't love the game, but I did play it, and it was alright. This game looks pretty interesting though, but it raises a lot more questions than it answers, such as, why did they decide to make this game? And how will it fit in with the series? And what can we expect next from Square Enix? I really have no idea how to answer any of those questions, but from what I've heard, the developer of this game, I think it's Ninja Theory that's designing the combat, the same people that made Nioh 1 and 2, but don't quote me on that. They're pretty reputable, however, so I'm sure the combat is going to be pretty good. In terms of story, the story seems questionable, but, you know, it's a reimagining. I'm sure it'll be interesting to play, and I'm sure it'll be an enjoyable experience that I'm definitely looking forward to. In fact, this is probably the biggest title release on the main list so far, besides the honorable mention that I have. So, speaking of that, let's get to it. Like I said at the beginning of this video, 2022 is seeming to be a slow year for JRPGs so far, as making this top 10 list was actually kind of difficult, and I had to go out of my way to make it 10 games. So there's really only one honorable mention I have to put here, and it's Elden Ring, the latest game from Software, the makers of Dark Souls, Bloodborne, and Sekiro. Obviously pretty reputable developers. The only reason this is an honorable mention is because it doesn't really feel like a JRPG, despite being made by or published by Bandai Namco. So, that just kind of shows how the sorting system we have for RPGs currently is kind of whack and doesn't make much sense, but whatever. Hopefully more games will be announced soon that I can be excited for. All the games on this list I am very excited for, but like I said, I don't really have anything else to mention, so that's kind of it for the video. Thanks for tuning in, and I will have more stuff to upload shortly. I have a few other video ideas before I get to the other stuff that I've been planning that I mentioned in my channel update, so we'll see how that goes, and then I will decide what to do from there. See you next time.